Hello again guys, and welcome back to my Feed the Beast Horizons world. If you remember in the last video, I was trying to get some farm automation working using a fan, and the crops I had in front of the fan were actually the crops from Pam's Harvest Craft. And since making that video, quite a lot of you have expressed that Pam's Harvest Craft is incompatible with automation, which seems a real shame because it adds more crops to the game than any other mod that I can think of. I mean, obviously agriculture adds a few, and even forestry, but I think the most variety comes from Pam's Harvest Craft. So that's a bit of a shame, but what I've done, for the purposes of getting this to work, is I've swapped the farms around. I've basically moved all of the Pam's Harvest Craft onto my little manual farm here, and all of the canola plants onto the Rotary Craft farm. Obviously there isn't going to be any incompatibilities here because canola plants are part of Rotary Craft because they are used for the lubrication of gearboxes. So that's one thing set up, and they are starting to grow. You'll also notice I now have Ray's Minimap mod in the top right hand corner. A lot of you did express that these mods are actually part of Horizons, they're just not activated by default. So I've turned that on, which is brilliant because it now means I can set waypoints, which is absolutely fantastic if I want to go exploring, because it means I can find my way back to my home without having to look up the coordinates constantly. So I am quite happy about that. Let's just hide that. So I've got two little projects that I want to try and do today. First of all is make sure this fan is working. It should hopefully be able to harvest and replant these crops, and then I need a way of collecting the crops. And then the second thing that I'm going to want to do is build a grinder using the technique that's been suggested to me so that we can supply lubrication to the gearbox here. So first things first, we do have some crops that have grown. The engine's constantly running, so we are going to flick the switch and turn on the fan. Oh, I can already see plants being broken, and I can see seeds moving. And obviously some of these are getting replanted, so yeah, all of the seeds are just being blown. They're not quite making it all the way. Some of them are. This one here didn't make it all the way to the end, and yeah, it's spitting a few out. Okay, so we've got some potential issues here. So how are we going to round up all of these seeds? Let's turn off the fan to begin with. Obviously we've got to wait for some of these to regrow now, but we've already got quite a lot of canola seeds from that. So some of the things look like they're getting spat out to the sides. So if we set up some sort of fencing on either side, that should hopefully stop them going sideways, and they should all make their way to the end. Then probably, I think the easiest quick solution for doing this is probably going to be hoppers. That's probably the quick and easy solution. So what I'm just going to quickly do is I just want to make a little bit of extra room over here. Doing it in my usual way. I know it upsets people that I don't use any kind of sort of world editor mods, but there are some things I just still prefer to do the old school way. But I just wanted to make a little bit more room there. I'm not bothered about that cinnamon block. I've got loads of them. I'm not all that bothered about the canola seeds either. So what I think we're going to need is some hoppers and some chests. So we're going to have to go 2 blocks down, one for the hopper and one for the chest, and we're obviously going to need room to get to them as well, and I think we're going to have to put fences above them as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spawn in some ordinary chests. I'm going to spawn in some ordinary hoppers. I'm only going to need one of each because I'm just going to do this in creative mode to make life easier, and I'm going to spawn in some wooden fences as well. So first things first, I'm going to put down 3 chests. I'm going to be struggling putting 3 side by side because it doesn't let you do that, which is a real pain. Although 1 hopper might actually be enough to collect all of them if they get close enough. I didn't want to destroy that gravel, which is a real pain, but luckily I have some stone, so let's fill that in. So we might be able to do it with, we'll put in a double chest, and we'll just try it with a single hopper. Now remember, hoppers connect to whatever block you click on, so we need to click on the chest, and because clicking on the chest opens the chest, we need to crouch and click. So we can actually put 2 hoppers onto the... That one looks like it connected to the back wall, did it? No, good. So they are both connected. Fortunately, we can't really put another chest down there. It won't let us, which is a bit of a shame. But it might actually work with just having the 2. We will see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a block in there. And I will get a... Always think these are going to be simple things, and then they always turn out to be more complicated than I expected. I'm just going to put a grass block back in just so it doesn't look quite as messy. So there we go. So I think what I also need to do, I'm going to put grass blocks across here. Now this may look like a little bit of a strange way of doing things, and I admit that it probably is, but we're going to make ourselves a little staircase down here. And now we have a method of accessing this chest. What I'll probably do at some point is just actually pump out once I work out how to do that. So we've got 2 hoppers here. Don't need the dirt blocks anymore. We'll get rid of the rest of the hoppers and the chests, and we'll take our fences. So hopefully, if we put a row of fences along here, and put another row of fences along this side, this should stop, hopefully, the fan blowing anything out from the sides. Providing it all stays in front of the fan, should all end up going into the hoppers. So if we close this off, then that might actually work. Okay, let's get rid of those fences for now. Now there is another solution to this, possibly, which is something that I looked into briefly, but haven't actually put into practice yet. So I'm just going to turn the fan on. There are some mature plants here. So as you can see, we've got a canola plant or 2 that have broken on the edges there. But they're not being... Oh, no, that one got blown. So some of them are actually getting blown down towards the end. But not all of them, which is quite strange. Not sure the way that the fan actually works, if it provides a constant amount of airflow over all the affected blocks, or whether it just randomly picks blocks within its area, because obviously here's a full canola plant, and this canola plant here hasn't actually broken at all yet. Someone did suggest using a golem. I'm assuming you mean the golems from Thorncraft, which is a possibility. That certainly work. They just run around and pick them all up and put them in a chest, but obviously I haven't really started with Thorncraft yet, and you know, fair enough, I could spawn one in, and maybe I will do in the future, but I'm trying to do all this automation with Rotary Craft on its own for the time being. So, zombie. Zombie. Thank you. Good job I heard him. Good job I got my headset on. Okay, so it certainly seems to be working in the fact that it is breaking the plants and it is replanting the plants, which is definitely a good thing. It seems to be moving some of the seeds, but not all of them. In fact, not many of them at all. Do we even have any in the chest? Yeah, we have got some. So the chest, to a degree, is working. The only problem is the fan isn't pushing everything right down to the ends where the hoppers are. Now, is that a case of possibly needing more fans? Let's just... Yeah, if the canola seeds end up going sort of directly in front of the fan, the ones directly in front of the fan do seem to get pushed down. If we use our angular transducer on the fan, we can see that it's showing us where it's actually outputting, and it seems to be in a straight line. Now, it's definitely affecting the outer 2 blocks because it's breaking the plants here, but it doesn't seem to be enough to blow the seeds all the way down. Now, I can think of, let me turn this off for now. I can think of 2 possible ways that I could, in fact, fix this. Oops, I've just thrown my angular transducer into the... Did not want to do that. Did not want to do that at all. So, can't jump over the fence. I'm going to go and fish my angular transducer back out of the bin. So, first thing I could do is put in 2 more fans. Now, the fans don't work on torque. The fans work on speed. And the engine provides more than enough power to power more than 1 fan. But what I would have to do is move everything back so that I could put some shaft junctions in between the gearbox and the fan. and then place 3 fans. But that might be worth trying. The other option is there's something that I read in the book, and thank God that stopped the engine noise because I always feel like I have to shout over it. There was something in here. Now let me see if I can find it again. No, it wasn't a fireworks display. Can I even remember what it was called? No, I cannot. There was quite a few useful things that I did see in here, actually. Like a scalable chest. A chest that actually allows you to put more in it, depending on the power you provide it. So, up to 560 stacks of stuff with maximum power. So, yeah, it'd be nice to build one of those at some point. The other item, which I now cannot remember what it was or where it was, and I still think this thing really needs a search function. Okay, where were you? Come on. Filling station, sorting machine, cooling fin. Gotta be here. So, item vacuum. There we go. The item vacuum draws items and XP orbs toward it and will absorb them into its internal storage when they get close to extract dust. So, but it doesn't say how far it operates. It does require 16 kilowatts, so it's going to need a dedicated steam engine at least. So range equals 8 plus power divided by 16 kilowatts. So I would assume that means that one engine probably has a range of 8 blocks. So it might be worth putting one down here at the end to see if that works. And I don't know how much internal storage it has, which is the other option. So we've got 2 potential options here. One is to move this whole unit back and try putting in a third fan, a second and third fan. And the other option is to try one of those item vacuums. I actually think I'm going to do both. So what I'm going to do, and I'll probably do this a little bit off camera, is I'm going to just destroy these hoppers in the chest, and I'm just going to move this whole system back 1 block, and then I'll make those changes. So I will see you shortly. Okay then guys, I am back. Well, that whole process took a little longer than I expected, so I might not manage to get my grinder set up today, but I'll show you what I've done while I was off camera. The first thing I did was move this wall back again another 1 block, just so I've got room to move around, because I had to move everything back 1. Basically, I just moved everything up and moved it back 1 block to leave a gap behind the fans. I've moved it over a little as well, and I'll show you why I had to do that in a moment. It's because originally the engine and the gearbox and the clutch were here, lined up with the middle fan, but because I've had to put a few extra bits and pieces in, I've had to move them across. As I was moving everything, I may or may not have removed the cooling fin while the engine was still running and exploded some stuff. That may possibly have happened. And there may be a fire over there. Let's go and deal with that, shall we? Okay, seems to have dealt with itself. I think that may have been the fence, because obviously there's a lava block powering that steam engine, so that was quite interesting. So what I am going to do now, let me show you the current setup. So as before, we've got the engine with the clutch into the gearbox, and I have set the gearbox so it is once again on speed and filled it up with lubricant. And then I have 3 fans, and we have a mass of fires here that have disappeared again. Maybe these engines aren't all they're cracked up to be. Or maybe it's just too close to things that are flammable. I may have to consider moving that engine at some point. So what I've got here, 3 more fans, and these fans are connected using a shaft junction, and some bevel gears. So if I click on them with the angular transducer, if you remember, the green is the input and the reds are the output. So it takes input from the gearbox and outputs to the first fan and to the second shaft junction. The second shaft junction takes input from the first shaft junction, outputs to the second fan, and outputs to the bevel gear, and that bevel gear just outputs to the third fan. Now, it says insufficient power. That's because the fans aren't currently turned on. Well, the clutch isn't currently turned on. And it says each fan requires 1,000 watts of power. Now, they're all going to be running at the same speed, which is sort of 1,024 rads, because that's what we've got the gearbox set to. We've got a 512 rad engine running through a gearbox which is set to 2-to-1 ratio. So the gearbox will output at 1,000 rads, and not all the fans will receive the same power because of the way we're splitting the power up, but they will all receive enough power. I think we're no longer getting fires over here, which is good. So what we need to do, and I'm just going to set this to daylight, is we need to go and build the vacuum box thing, or whatever it was called. Got to find it again now. Can't remember what it looks like. Is it farming machines? There it is. The item vacuum. So it's a chest surrounded by impellers and HSLA steel ingots. Well, that all seems quite easy enough. You can power it from any side as well, which is good. So I don't think we have any impellers left either. Probably not. Got a lot of junk, but I don't think we have any impellers. So let's get that sorted out. So we're going to need some impellers. We start off by making ourselves some gears. We are going to have to make multiple because we don't quite have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we should be able to make impellers, I believe, by just surrounding gears with those. Yeah. So we now have 4 impellers. We need a chest. I was just going to spawn one in there, but as I've got the wood in my inventory, it seems just as quick and easy to actually make one. And oh, look at that. Actually got an achievement, which looks like that's something to do with the Ars Magica book as well, judging by the icon, so that could be interesting. So at the work table, the chest was in the middle. I think the steel ingots were in the 4 corners, and then the impellers went on all the additional sides, and that gives me my item vacuum. Well, that wasn't too difficult to build. Now, it does say it accepts power from any side, so I'm literally just going to plonk it down here. Yep, green on every side, so it does accept power from every side. And hopefully, it does have quite a bit of room inside it. I'm assuming each one of those boxes is a stack box. So, we'll turn it on. And just to see, let's... Oh, it does have quite a good amount of suction on there, actually. Let's try here. That works very, very well. That may even pick up things from here. Look at that. That is fantastic. So, yes, we now have some rice that I'm just going to instantly trash because I just can't be bothered to deal with that. So, that's certainly going to produce enough suction. Let's get rid of that. And now, let us turn on our clutch and make sure this all works. It's going to make a lot of noise. A lot of noise, because there's so many gears and things running here. So let's go down to this end. And, well, are all the fans on, is the question. Because it doesn't look like these ones are, even though they are turning. Why is that? Insufficient power. Oh, I know why. Stop the operations, shut down the engines. I haven't made them an even split, which is what I should have done. So it's not quite splitting out. So we want... right, what's the best way? I'm going to go 1 to 3 bend, which will put... Now, let me get this the right way around. I'm going to go and have a look at my other one for reference, because I can't remember which way the split works. So, on this one, we've got the majority of the power coming in line. So if we look at the split, and I think it's set to... Inline, yep. So inline, the inline sends most of the power to the inline. So I want only 1/3 of the power roughly to go into this one. So this wants to be 1 to 3 bend, because I want 1/3 of the power to go that way and then the rest to go this way. And then that's going in line, so that needs to be an even split, because the power that's getting needs to go half to the fan and half to the other fan. So if I flick the switch now, we should see that all of the fans are indeed turning, and they are. This fan is getting fan receiving 4 kilowatts, fan receiving 6 kilowatts, fan receiving 6 kilowatts. That is enough. It's not quite an even split, but that would always be difficult to do. But the point is, it is receiving enough. And, well, that's working very well. Possibly didn't even need to have the third fan there. We could have just managed with 2, or even 1. But that system is definitely working. Not too sure what's happening with those canola seeds there. They definitely seem to be... Oh, I think I know what's happening there. I think it's because the fan is actually fighting with the vacuum a little bit. So the vacuum's trying to suck them in, and the fan's trying to blow them further down, which is an interesting concept. So maybe it didn't quite need to have all of the fans there. So this is something that's going to need a bit of refining. So in the meantime, I'm going to turn the fans off because, well, we don't need to have them running. But that does prove that the system works. And that stopped out that glitching canola. And if you look, oh, we've got a bit of fence that I broke. But 2.5 stacks of canola seeds. So that works very, very well. I will look into this further. I think I probably don't actually need to have all of these fans now. But I wanted to test out whether or not this setup would work, and it certainly does. But it seems like a single fan is enough to break all 3 of them. And then maybe have this set off to the side slightly so it isn't in direct line of the fan. But it's definitely working. There's no question about that. And also now we're actually powering... we have 1 single pump. And this single pump is running off 1 steam engine. And it's able to provide enough water pressure to supply water to 3 different steam engines and 3 different sprinklers. So that's quite good. That's quite good efficiency for a single pump. I feel. I'll get rid of some more of these bits of fence. Instantly, that gets sucked in. That is a brilliant little machine. I'm so happy to have found that. Sad that I didn't manage to get the grinder set up today, but I will get that done on the next video. I don't know if I can be bothered to move all this again. It's an interesting setup. It probably isn't needed. But there again, having 1 steam engine controlling 3 fans or 1 steam engine controlling 1 fan, it doesn't make any difference to the power requirements. So I might just leave it there just because I can't be bothered to move it, to be quite honest. But I am liking that. And yeah, I'll also try getting one of those infinite chests sorted. But one of the main things that's going to have to figure out now is obviously we're going to build the grinder over here somewhere. It's going to have its own gearbox because that's going to need to be powered by 4 DC electric engines and then a gearbox to power them up. And that grinder is going to have to provide enough lubrication to fuel its own gearbox, as well as enough lubrication to fuel this gearbox. But more importantly, I need to try and find a way to pipe the canola seeds from this box into the grinder, and then probably some sort of filter, because if this thing does happen to suck up anything else, such as anything I drop or random zombie parts that fall off, we don't want those going into the grinder because that would be bad. So there we go, folks. We have now built our item vacuum, which is a very useful block, and I'll be seeing you next time. So until then, goodbye for now.